Good morning, everyone. How are you doing, villagers? Welcome to Pepper Tree Villa and the second edition of PTV uh, well, PTV Live. It's JuLive, the second day of July. So I'm hoping everyone's having a great day. I am just getting my day started here, so I thought I'd go ahead and start this day in Disney history, July 2nd. I'm going to start a different way this time. I'm going to start with Disney Quest. In 2017, just 2 years ago, Disney Quest permanently closed at Walt Disney World. So that was, it opened in 1998, and hello, Lucky's Wet Hooks. How you doing? Hope you're having a great day. Yeah, if you happen to join the stream, go ahead and just drop a little note and let me know that you're there. It'd be great to see you. We also had some other 1986, The Great Mouse Detective was released in movie theaters. We also had it, for those that are familiar with Disneyland, in 1993, there was a restaurant that was next to the Enchanted Tiki Room that had been called the Tahitian Terrace. That had been closed for years, but now, in 1993, it opened. It was called Aladdin's Oasis. It was a dinner show kind of thing. It was an amazing experience. Good morning, Marianne. Good to see you here. Thank you. Aladdin's Oasis opened in 1993. At that point, we had kind of an abbreviated show of Aladdin's Oasis. Good morning, Donna. Hello, Noah. How you doing? Good to see you here. Hey, Rob. How you doing? Good to have you here. Aladdin's Oasis opened to rave reviews. It was a nice dinner show, wonderful meal, and it ended with a chocolate magic lamp. And it only came out after you rubbed a lamp in the middle of the table. And everyone had the same kind of lamp thing. A little smoke would come out, and all of a sudden, the whole dining staff would come out, and they would be serving chocolate lamps with a raspberry coulis inside. It was a delicious dessert. Sad that restaurant's no longer there, but it closed for a while, became just a character meet and greet for quite a long time. And now it is a place that Doug and I have not yet experienced. It's called the Tropical Hideaway, similar to Skipper Canteen in Magic Kingdom, but we're going to eventually go there. In 1972, the Magic Kingdom on July 2nd experienced what had been up and running for about a month or so, but the show or the attraction, If You Had Wings, opened in Tomorrowland. Officially, it was unveiled during a dedication ceremony on July 2nd, 1972. Also, those of you that have not been to Disneyland, hello, Chills TV, good to have you here. In 1958, a significant person was born in the Disney family. Now, they're not anyone that most of you would know, but if you've been to Disneyland, you've definitely experienced his antics. His name is Maynard. Currently, I've seen him at the Enchanted Tiki Room. He does a great show of just introducing the birds. He embraces being a cast member. He's very good at it. In 1956, we had a little attraction called the Rainbow Caverns Mine Train that opened in Frontierland. So it was then upgraded in 1960 and became the Mine Train through Nature's Wonderland. The one thing that I'm really going to focus on today, though, is going to be more of a Disney Parkeology event, and that was in 1967. Yeah, Rob, Maynard does rock. He's awesome. Marianne, yeah, we love Maynard. I've been experiencing Maynard's antics since the 90s when he was a cast member at the Haunted Mansion. He was a fantastic host at the mansion. And he gets moved around from place to place, but man, whatever he does, he embraces it and just pluses the attraction, makes it that much better. In 1967, Disneyland was finally able to realize the vision that Walt had for Tomorrowland. On July 2nd, 1967, they were finally able to dedicate a more kinetic Tomorrowland for Disneyland. It included the rocket jets, the People Mover, which was sponsored by Goodyear. And then we also had the General Electric Carousel of Progress that opened in Disneyland. All in 1967, the People Mover and Carousel of Progress, of course, was a result. Hi, Zachary. Good to have you. Uh, uh, the Carousel of Progress and the People Mover came as a result of the World's Fair from New York, and they brought them to the West Coast. They finally premiered on July 2nd, 1967. Now, originally, when Disneyland opened, Tomorrowland was nothing of what Walt wanted as far as a full, flushed out realization of Tomorrowland. Unfortunately, budget constraints and time just were not cooperating with it. But at the time when Tomorrowland premiered, it was envisioned that that was the future of 1986. So they knew that they had to do something, and they finally had time and money. It was a. I never experienced the old Tomorrowland. I was just too young. But the new Tomorrowland, which premiered in 1967, is still one of my favorite eras for that particular area of the park. The People Mover, man, there was just nothing like it. It was a fantastic attraction. You started in the center hub of Tomorrowland, which is pretty much right where the TTA People Mover is now. Same idea. The trains would leave the station, and then it would go and then go throughout the perimeter of Tomorrowland. But in Disneyland, it went down the center of the land. So when you come into Tomorrowland, you actually see an elevated highway in the sky. It's not tucked away on the sides of the building, which when the People Mover was actually working, it made the land feel so alive, so kinetic, so much was happening. There was lots of energy in the air. And then on top of the station of the People Mover, you had, of course, the rocket jets. And that, for me, when I was a kid, that was one of the scariest rides in the park. I have this thing about heights. I can do them, but there are times that I really wish I didn't have to. But having this whole rocket thing up in the air, you take the gantry up to that third level, and you get on your rocket jet, and you're flying through the air high above Tomorrowland. Nothing like it. It's amazing. I still miss it. And while we have the Astro Orbiter that sits in front of Tomorrowland now, it's on the ground. It's just not as exciting or thrilling. It just isn't. Hi, Lee Lily. How you doing? Great to have you here. And then, of course, General Electric Carousel of Progress. I still mourn the loss of that attraction, but I don't believe it was Disneyland's idea to send the attraction. It was General Electric that wanted it to go to Florida. So it's still in Magic Kingdom. And I guess they had to do something with the land. And so Mark Davis was tasked with creating a new show for that particular area of Tomorrowland. It was called America Sings, which for me was also a very endearing show from my childhood. It lasted from 1974 through 1986. And at that time, America was about to celebrate its bicentennial. So patriotism was in the air. So it was just a natural fit. The thing is that Tomorrowland just wasn't the right place for America Sings. It could have been in some place like Liberty Square, but there was no place like that at Disneyland. So they went ahead and put it in the Carousel Theater because it was just that type of show. It worked. It was a wonderful show. It didn't scream tomorrow at all, but a few years later we got Space Mountain in 1977, and that was very exciting. But the original land of 1967's New Tomorrowland is still there. The buildings are there. The skeleton of the former Tomorrowland is still there. When you walk into Tomorrowland, you're met by these tracks that you have to cross under, the People Mover. Now, they were repurposed when they did another New Tomorrowland in 1998. They introduced an attraction called the Rocket Rods, and it really was there. I'm sure you've seen videos of it. If you haven't, go ahead and do a search for Rocket Rods Disneyland, and you'll see an attraction that I was able to ride a few times. It didn't last very long. It was open from 98 until 2000. The attraction as it was built was unfortunately far less than what it was supposed to be. A sponsor, I don't remember who the sponsor was, but they pulled out, so they also pulled the funding that was going to actually upgrade that attraction. And unfortunately, the Imagineers had to work with what they had, and it was a much definitely scaled down budget. Corners were taken on the attraction, so the ride vehicles were originally supposed to be a motorcycle type thing, but they ended up being a car. And you get on it, and instead of being a leisurely ride like the People Mover, which was about 10 to 15 minutes, a wonderful long respite. If you wanted, if on a hot summer day, you could just get on the People Mover and it would go in and out of air-conditioned buildings. Wonderful. But then the Rocket Rods came in, and it was about a 2-minute trip. And if you were able to get on it, it was fun. It wasn't thrilling because it had to constantly slow down and speed up, slow down, speed up. It couldn't take corners very well. The track that it was built on was built for the People Mover cars, not the Rocket Rods. So there was a lot of stress on the structure of the track itself, as well as the track. And the vehicles, because they had to constantly slow down and speed up, were having problems with axles and mechanisms in the cars that were constantly braking. So the attraction spent a lot of time down rather than up. In 2000, they closed it down, and they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to close it down, we're going to reimagine it, and it's going to come back in 2001. And 2001 came and went, and it was announced that the Rocket Rods would not be returning. And ever since then, the track for the People Mover has been abandoned. It's, I don't want to say eyesore, but there's really no better way to describe it. It's just sad to see the track sitting there, a ghost of its former self. I know a lot of us in the Disneyland community would love to see the People Mover come back, but the track has actually been damaged to the point where they can't do it. But I would love to see them be able to refurbish it and then maybe put in an attraction similar to the little cars that you see on the island of on the movie The Incredibles. I would love to see that because Syndrome has this wonderful transportation system on his island, and that is what I think should go in Tomorrowland. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think they will probably take down those tracks at some point. There are rumors that there is a possible new refurbishment of Tomorrowland coming to Disneyland. Maybe at D23 in August, we'll hear something about that. I'm not holding my breath. I'm hopeful, but at that point, who knows? There was another attraction in 1967 that opened. It didn't open on July 2nd, but it was in the space that is now occupied by Star Tours. So when you come into Disneyland, Tomorrowland, off to the right is Star Tours. Hey, Dole Whip Dad, Jeff, how you doing? Thanks for stopping in to say hi. You walk in, Star Tours is there, but prior to that was an attraction called Adventure Through Inner Space. And that, there were a couple things that were quite different about this attraction when it opened in 1967. One, it was the first attraction that introduced the Omni Mover, where the cars never stopped, you just got on. So they adopted that and used it on lots of other attractions, like, for instance, If You Had Wings. It was also on the Haunted Mansion. It was such an efficient way of getting guests through an attraction. It just worked so well. Doug and I always refer to it as a people eater. Now, the one thing about Adventure Through Inner Space that was also interesting at that time was that it didn't require tickets. Now, in the 60s and through the 70s, you had to have a ticket to go on every attraction. I remember as a kid, we would get these book of 15 tickets. It had 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, and 5E tickets. And you held onto those E tickets and really had to decide, which attraction am I going to use this on? Because you had to make a decision. You couldn't just go on anything. You had to make a decision. But Adventure Through Inner Space did not require a ticket. So everyone would get in line for that attraction. It was wonderful. The concept of it was that it was sponsored by Monsanto, and it was an adventure through inner space into a snowflake. And you'd get into your vehicle, and they would shrink you down in what they called the atommobile. And you would eventually get smaller and smaller until you got to the point where you actually saw the nucleus of an atom. And then finally, of course, you return to size. And the one thing that really creeped me out about that attraction was the microscope. There's this one spot in the attraction where you would actually come through, the vehicle would kind of like lean back a bit, and there'd be this giant eyeball staring at you. When you're a kid, that kind of thing creeps you out. And it did that with me. I remember also once we kind of had to stop at some point on that attraction when I was a kid. So they told us to remain in our seats. My older brother, hi Nibble, how you doing? My brother, my older brother, who was at that age where you didn't always follow the rules, he kind of like stood up in his seat and was reaching out and touching the giant snowflakes as you were passing by, because a lot of the things were so close to the vehicle that you could just reach out and touch it. So, Marianne, yes, magnification. So if you haven't seen or heard of Adventure Through Inner Space, again, do a YouTube search of that one. You will see the attraction there. It's by today's standards, it's very hokey, but for me, it's my childhood. It's something I relished. I loved that attraction going on every time. That was also part of the 1967 New Tomorrowland. So that is about it. I'm gonna have to start my day here at the office very soon, so I thought I would just go ahead and go live again today. And again, this is a series of live videos for the month of July, which I have dubbed JuLive. And I really appreciate you spending your morning with me here, or afternoon, wherever you may be here in the world. This is Pepper Tree Villa, PTV Live, or JuLive. Thank you so much for being here with me. Have a wonderful day. And by the way, today there is going to be no episode of Life with Ben. There was some editing issues that we had. So we couldn't get to it, but we promise an episode of Life with Ben will be next Tuesday. And we will continue with other episodes as well. The live streams will be more than just Disney history or parkeology. Doug and I will also be doing some cooking demos during the month of July. More to come on that. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to drop me a line anywhere on our social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Pepper Tree Villa. Would love to have any kind of a conversation with you. So everyone, thank you so much for being here with me, and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye.